Students, it is important to discuss law and social justice with the Bhopal gas tragedy. And when we discussed about the Union Carbide Company, then we discussed that all these situations, what's the reason behind it? Who allowed them to enter in India? Who allowed them to work? And what's the main purpose here by the Bhopal gas tragedy? And what's the main purpose of Union Carbide Company? To come to India for the purpose of industrial, for the purpose of their own profit or anything else behind this one. Yes, Bindu Chaudhary is with you in your social science class, and today we are covering our last chapter of this and unit 5th also, unit 5th, economic presence of the government, and we discussed a lot in our first part also about law and social justice, and in that one we discuss about the rights of the consumers, producers as well as the workers. In between the producer to the consumer there is a chain of workers also, and when we discuss about the chain, then we notice that many workers paid very lesser than the minimum wages mentioned by the government. And when we discussed a lot about all these things, we discussed Bhopal gas tragedy also occurred at 2nd December 1984 at Bhopal. All circumstances were against Union Carbide Company. And what's the role of workers here? We will discuss in our part 2nd. What is workers' worth? So, in this one, we will discuss about the, if we are to understand the events leading to Bhopal disaster, we have to ask many questions related to with why did Union Carbide sets up its plant in India? Why not in America? Why not in another country? Why in only India? Union Carbide Company set up its plant. We will discuss it in this part. One reason why foreign companies come to India is for cheap labor. What's the reason behind to set up a company in India, not in another country? Because in India, availability of cheap labor is there. That's why the company is attracted here. At present also companies attracts only for the purpose of cheap labor and many things others also. We will discuss here. But first of all, when we are discussing about the wages point, then wages that the companies pay to workers, says in the USA, United States of America, are far higher than what they have to pay to workers in poorer countries like India. So, the first reason behind the setup of company in India is what? Cheap labor is there, because wages are very minimum, very lesser than the United States of America. And when we discussed a lot, then that's the main reason these companies attracts in the poorer countries like India, because of the low rate workers. For lower pay, companies can get longer hours of work. See the situation. Not only lesser amount of payment to workers, but one thing more is here, student. The one thing more is what? The number of working hours. It means longer hours have to work by the workers, and additional expenses also, such as housing facilities for workers are also fewer. 3 पॉइंट हम यहाँ कंसिडर कर रहे हैं. फर्स्ट पॉइंट इज व्हाट? लो वेजेस, ओके, या चीप लेबर हमारे यहाँ पे इजीली मिल जाते हैं. सेकेंड पॉइंट इज व्हाट स्टूडेंट? सेकेंड पॉइंट इज longer hours of work. And when we discuss about the longer hours of work, then it is necessary that why only India is selected by the companies, because of the poor countries have all these conditions, favorable conditions for the setup of any company. Third point is what? About the housing facilities to the labor. Very lesser, very fewer facilities are given by the companies. So thus these companies can save costs and earn higher profits. So what's the main reason behind any setup in India, any setup in poorer countries like India? The main reasons, three main reasons are there. First one is what? First one is the lower wages person. Second one is the longer hours of the workers. And third one is the housing facilities. So all these, from all these circumstances, what's the main thing happened? The main thing is that companies can save cost and earn higher profits from all these circumstances. Cost cutting can also be done by other more dangerous means also. These are the three factors, but other than these factors, other factors are also there, but all these things done by other more dangerous means. How? See, lower working conditions including lower safety measures are used as ways of cutting costs. So the main important fourth point is here, what students? The fourth point includes the lower safety measures, and with these lower safety measures they cutting cost the things and they earned a lot of profit from all these things. In the Union Carbide plant, all the situations came in favor of Union Carbide company. What happened? Every safety device was malfunctioning or was in short supply. सेफ्टी मेजर्स रखे ही नहीं गए थे, और जो रखे गए थे वो काम नहीं कर रहे थे, और जो कुछ काम कर रहे थे वो भी बहुत धीमी गति से काम कर रहे थे. Between 1980 and 1984, the work crew for the MIC plant was cut in half from 12 to 6 workers. See the situations, half of the workers are there. And when we are discussing about all these things, the period of safety training for whom students? For workers was brought down for 6 months. Actually, it is of 6 months, but what happened? It comes to only 15 days. The post of night shift workers for the MIC plant was abolished. So all the situations in the Union Carbide company was totally against, totally not in favor to the workers as well as environment as well as the society also. Students, here is a comparison why Union Carbide company prefers to set their plant in India, not in another countries or in US itself. So first one is West Virginia, USA. They had their plant in West Virginia, USA also. Comparison between Union Carbide safety system at Bhopal and at other plants in US. See, no safety systems in Bhopal, where the Union Carbide plant in Bhopal relied on manual skills and the human senses to detect gas leaks. No any safety measures behind the plant setups here. And next one is in West Virginia. What's going on that time? Computerized warning and monitoring systems were in place. Every facilitation was there. And when we considered Bhopal, see, at the West Virginia plant, emergency evacuation plans were in place, but when we are considering and correlating to Bhopal, what's the situation was? Not existence in Bhopal. It means no facilities of safety measures were implemented in Bhopal, but for the same Union Carbide company established in West Virginia, USA, all the safety measures were followed by the company, not in Bhopal. Not a single safety measure was followed. Only manual senses were there. So, the question also arising here, why are there such sharp difference in safety standards across countries? And even after the disaster happened, why was the compensation to the victims so low? Questions are here, students. First question is what? That only main difference was of what? Main differences was of safety standards across country to country. In India, no safety measures were there, but when we compared that to Virginia in USA, all facilitated with the machinery system, safety measures were there. And next question arises here, that when after the disaster, why was the compensation to the victims so low? What is the reason behind the compensation of very low amount, very minimum amount? Because of many reasons. What were the reasons? We will consider here also. First of all, the main reason for the workers' point of view, we will consider easy availability of the workers. In India, at very minimum wages, at very lesser wages, easy availability of workers were there in Union Carbide plant. Since there is so much unemployment, there are many workers who are willing to work in unsafe conditions. What's the condition? Unsafe conditions in return for a wage. It means at a very small amount of payment, they ready to work, the laborers ready to work, the workers ready to work without any safety measures, or we will say that in a very unsafe conditions they are ready to work. So, making use of the workers' vulnerability, employers ignore safeties in workplaces, because availability in a easy mode, availability of workers is there. That's why the main reason that the companies always ignored the safeties in workplaces. There are regular reports of accidents in construction sites, mines or factories due to careless attitude of the employers. So, when all the scenario of Bhopal gas tragedy we discussed, we noticed that in another parts, in another construction sites as well as in mines or factories, many circumstances took place, worst conditions was there, and all these things happened by what? By the main employer, and all they ignored the safety measures of the workers, because due to the careless attitude of the employers, all these things were not done properly. When we are coming to this one, that's the main reason to the enforcement of safety laws. इसीलिए सेफ्टी लॉज को एनफोर्स करना गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से ज़रूरी हो गया था, बिकॉज प्राइवेट सेक्टर्स, कंपनीज, माइंस, दे आर नॉट फॉलोइंग द सेफ्टी मेजर्स. सो what was the government doing when there were such blatant violations of safety standards in the UC plant? Government was very in a silent mode, or government was doing some work against the Union Carbide company? First of all, what's the main reason, what's the main circumstances behind the Union Carbide company? See, the safety laws were lax in India. Yes, it is lacking in India. Second one, even these weak safety laws were not enforced. The main condition, totally not enforced, safety measures totally not followed by the companies. So understanding with this ease of Bhopal gas tragedy, what happened to the company officials, government officials? First of all, we will consider about the government officials. Government officials refused to recognize the plant as hazardous and allowed it to come up in a populated locality. So the main aim of the government was not in favor of the public, in favor of the workers, because they totally refused, officials totally refused to recognize. What's the main thing they totally refused to recognize, student? First one, that plant as hazardous, and second one, they allowed it to come up in a populated locality. Where Bhopal gas tragedy happened, that locality was near the populated area. So when some municipal officials in Bhopal objected that the installation of an MIC protection unit in 1978 was a safety violation, the position of the government was that the state needs the continued investment of the Bhopal plant. And what's the reason behind it? That Bhopal plant provides jobs. अब यहाँ पे सर्कमस्टेंसेस देखिए, म्यूनिसिपल ऑफिशियल्स ने क्या कहा, भोपाल में यह प्लांट लगाना बिल्कुल भी फेवर में नहीं है. सो दे ऑब्जेक्टेड फॉर द इंस्टॉलेशन ऑफ प्लांट इन भोपाल. बट हु वॉज इन फेवर ऑफ ऑल दीज इंस्टॉलेशन? सी, government officials, some government officials was there, and they had a reason behind this one. They told that state needs the continued investment of the Bhopal plant, and from Bhopal plant many job opportunities were also there. So there was a objection. But when we are considering about an objection, then what's the main reason? Municipal board was against the installation, but government, some government officials were in favor of Bhopal gas tragedy. It means the installation of the Union Carbide plant. It was unthinkable, according to them, to ask Union Carbide to shift to क्लीनर टेक्नोलॉजी और सेफर प्रोसीजर्स. अब यहाँ पे हम क्या देखते हैं बच्चों, यहाँ पे टोटली गवर्नमेंट ऑफिशियल्स ने सोचा भी नहीं था, बिल्कुल भी नहीं सोचा था यहाँ पे कि अगर वो कुछ सेफ्टी मेजर्स, यूनियन कार्बाइड कंपनी को सेफ्टी मेजर्स अपना लेती तो इतनी बड़ी दुखांतिका नहीं होती. Government inspectors continued to approve the procedures in the plant even when repeated incidents of leaks. It means government inspectors continued their approve to the procedures, but they not followed the proper safety measures in Bhopal. So this is contrary to what the role of a law making and enforcement agency should be. कितना विरोधाभास हो रहा है between whom, students? Between the role of a law making and enforcement agency behind the enforcement of the laws, implementation of the laws. So this contrary situation always lacking behind the situation of Bhopal gas tragedy. And when we are saying that all these situations were responsible for this tragedy, then with more industries being set up both by local and foreign businesses in India, there is a great need. What's the great need? Great need for stronger laws protecting workers' right. First thing is stronger law. Second thing, protecting workers' right and better enforcement of these laws. So the conditions behind the safety measures, behind the law and social justice chapter is what, student? The main conditions that even by the private sectors, even by the foreign businesses also, more and more being setups are there, plant setups are there, but the need is what? It is in a great need for, first thing, for the laws, for the stronger laws made by the government. Second thing, protecting the rights of the worker, because in a very lesser wages they act as a worker in a company. Third thing, that better enforcement of these laws are needed, and time to time monitoring of these laws are also helping for the purpose of the safety mode of the workers, for the safety mode of the society itself. So student, we read about a lot about the Bhopal gas disease and the role of laws. And what's next, we will continue in our next session. So stay with us for our remaining chapter. Have a nice day.